This is Red Moon Roleplaying. Masks of Nyarlathotep. Where last we left our investigators, they had arrived in London, while Shelby Shattuck had headed off to research the Penhew Foundation and Edward Gavigan. Madeline Hopper and Felix Bauer had made their way to the Scoop on Fleet Street, where they made the acquaintance of one Mickey Mahoney, a journalist contact of Jackson Elias. They wanted to discover what Mahoney had been researching on Elias's behalf, and after winning him over, were handed 3 newspaper report extracts that Mahoney believed Elias would be very interested in. And now from the top, the players are going to read these extracts.
The Scoop. Shocking canvases craze. Local artists monstrous scenes mock surrealist. Now collectors can buy savage scenes which rival or surpass the worst nightmares of the Great War, but which are far more exotic than that grim business. Local artist Mr. Miles Shipley's work is being sought out by collectors who have paid up to £300 for individual paintings. This correspondence has seen a number of the works of artist Miles Shipley and finds them repulsive beyond belief. Maidens ravished, monsters ripping out a man's innards, shadowy grotesque landscapes, and faces grimacing in horror represent only a fraction of Shipley's nightmarish work. Despite their repellent content, these works are conceived and executed with uncanny verisimilitude. Mr. Shipley's imagination is sublime, and it is almost as if though the artist had worked from photographs of alien places surely never seen on this earth. The artist reportedly is in contact with other dimensions in which powerful beings exist, and says he merely renders visible his visions. Mr. Shipley is a working class man without formal artistic training who has nonetheless made good where thousands have failed. Art critics say that Shipley provides an English answer to the continental artistic movement of surrealism, whose controversial practitioners have still to convince John Bull that the way in which a thing is painted is more important than what is painted. A tip of the hat to Mr. Shipley for exposing those frauds.
The next article, also in the Scoop. Police baffled by monstrous murders. Killer beast shot but still alive? Derwent Valley residents, shocked last month by 2 murders and a serious assault on a 3rd victim, are still without a satisfactory explanation or perpetrator of the dreadful attacks. At that time, Lesser Edale farmer George Osgood and resident Lydia Perkins were torn to shreds in apparently unrelated murders on consecutive nights. On the 3rd night, wheelwright Harold Short was nearly killed but managed to drive off his attacker, which he described as a grisly creature. According to the Lesser Edale Constabulary, a rabid dog was shot and killed on the night of Mr. Short's attack. The police believe the matter to be closed. Nevertheless, local residents have subsequently claimed to have seen or heard a strange beast lurking about the area. Reportedly, the good folk of Lesser Edale still endure sleepless nights due to the bizarre wailings of the beast on nights of the full moon. Readers of the Scoop are reminded of their esteemed journal's long-standing danger protocols and are advised that the picturesque cloughs of the Derbyshire Peak District have been declared to be a zone of high danger. Residents of the Midlands are advised to remain indoors at night and to report all mysterious happenings to the police and to the Scoop.
And the third article, also from the Scoop. Slaughter continues. Reward offered. An unidentified foreigner was found floating in the Thames last Tuesday, the 24th. Another victim of the so-called Egyptian murders? Inspector James Barrington of the Yard refused to comment when asked by the Scoop. Sources exclusive to this journal state that the victim had been beaten severely and then stabbed through the heart in a manner curiously similar to other murders that have taken place over the last 3 years. The connection seems obvious, but New Scotland Yard has yet to confirm that the deaths are connected. Inspector Barrington and his colleagues appear baffled and no closer to catching the heinous perpetrator of these crimes. Londoners cry out, "When will our streets be safe?" Readers of the Scoop are reminded that this esteemed journal has a reward now standing at £24 for information regarding the apprehension and conviction of the murderer. Be vigilant.
And there you have it. The work of Mickey Mahoney laid bare. He smiles at you both as you finish reading. Well, I did describe him as grisly.
Yes, you did.
Now, Mr. Elias was really interested in suspicious deaths, what did he call cultist and occult activity, monsters even, and, we publish a lot of, and he puts a hand to the side of his mouth, pantomime, whispering. We publish a lot of, drivel. But these stories, I checked into them, they're reputable. This isn't by these stories aren't by bottom feeders, you understand. They're sourced. Journalists even went out to these places. Reporters, to interview people on these matters. So I sifted through the nonsense, and these were the three good ones. Unfortunately, nothing to do exactly with what we wrote about on the paper. But that's what Mr. Elias asked for, and so this is what he's got, or what you've got now, I guess.
No, Mr. Mahoney, this is incredibly helpful. Thank you. I just have a few questions, and this is half in character, half out of character. None of these articles have an actual contributor name, so these weren't written by Mahoney. These are all just things that he's collected from sourcing through, correct?
That's right, yes. He did not write them.
Can you give me time frame on this activity? Is this within the last week, within the last month? I know Jackson has been out of London for quite some time. How dated are these stories compared to where we are today?
The oldest one, which is the Derwent Valley murders, was a year ago. Everything else happened in within the last year.
Beautiful. Okay, so the killer beat shot was a year ago, and then we've got the artist and the reward that were within the last year. Mr. Mahoney, I know this is probably a sensitive question, but since Jackson hired you, has anyone else come by asking for this data or asked about your relationship with him specifically?
No one's come in to ask about it. One of my colleagues, Bobby down there, he said there was someone who approached him on the street, I guess about a month ago now, asking if he'd seen if he'd seen a person, he matched the description, Jackson Elias, coming in here, asking questions. And Bobby's a bit of a rogue, but he's not going to give up a source. He basically told him to try his luck at the bottom of the Thames, as it were. Take a long walk off a short pier. But since then, we've not been bothered.
My eyes are going to flicker over to Felix.
And I'm also looking at these articles, and I'm trying to see the connection. Trying to see if there's anything that we could go off of from this. Anything that we could dive into further.
He points at the article and says, a lot of these are still open stories, Mr. Bauer. I mean, we're just waiting for something to happen. It's not like we're all Sherlock Holmes. We're not investigating the source, or rather how these things are going to close. Not to sound too trivial or nothing, but if a big event happens, if there's a sighting of a monster or a body's found, we'll report on it. So we keep our tabs open on these places. But when it came to, and he taps the drawer with the newspaper in, where he wrote about the Penhew Foundation, I did look into that. I promise, I did look into it. And it's not that it doesn't come up, but it doesn't really come up in this paper. It's everything seems very above board, even boring, if you ask me. Never been any kind of scandal tied to them. Not since the expedition.
No, exactly. And it is about that and it is, of course, about that expedition that we want to learn more.
Well, even that was reported on lightly. I mean, obviously there was a big piece in the Times about, and he mouths Penhew at you. But that was in a sort of what you might call a hagiography, talking about the good work he'd done in the city, all the money he'd brought in, how he was a huge patron of the arts and history. It wasn't an examination of what led him to his demise, or nothing that looked what you might call, as I say, scandalous. It was just a very lengthy obituary about a man who, quite frankly, most people would never heard of until he died. My money's on the pen, and he covers his mouth, on the foundation, probably paying for the article space.
That would make sense. And scratching my head, finding myself a little bit out of my depth, and looking to Madeline, hoping that she will have cracked the case.
Mr. Mahoney, this is very helpful. Thank you. We can take these with us?
Oh, go ahead. I've got the originals. But if you need anything else, you know where I am. And if you have any tips, now that we're friends, maybe you'll come to me first, and I can put a bit of a... And he makes a sort of magical gesture with his fingertips. A bit of an artistic flourish on a story. Maybe make a few more copies sell.
You'll be our first stop, Mr. Mahoney.
Of course. We want to help our friends.
Well, he reaches across the desk to shake you both by the hand. Well, you have a good day, and please do pass my regards on to Mr. E.
Two very brief things before we go, Mr. Mahoney. May I have the article that you wrote regarding his incarceration? Or a copy of it?
I don't have it to hand, but I could get it to you. Where are you staying?
And I'm going to do that shoulder shimmy conspiratorial back and forth. How about I just check in every once in a while, and the next time I step in, I can collect it from you?
Oh, come on in tomorrow. And I'll have it by then.
Tomorrow will be perfect. The second thing, we're going to be looking into some of this. You said that these were all open cases. I imagine you may start seeing some activity or some surface water movement. I would just start keeping your ears open. We'll bring what we can, but chances are with your reach throughout the city, you're going to start seeing the ripples, as we call them.
He actually rubs his hands together as a wolfish smile spreads across his face. There's something a little childish to Mahoney. There's a childish level of enthusiasm, sure. And you know that he is going to turn any old scandal into a story for a buck, or in his case, a shilling. But your read on him when you first met him, Madeline, you get the impression was correct. At heart, this is an honest man who just loves telling tales.
Yeah. I love storytellers. They're some of my favorite people. Thank you, Mr. Mahoney. Thank you so much. I'll see you tomorrow morning.
Right you are. Be seeing you. Shelby, you didn't have the pleasure of Madeline or Felix's company when you decided you would conduct your own research. Would you have called to Rupert, or is this something you would have undertaken solo?
I'm tempted. I'm not going to lie. It would be nice, because I've gotten so used to having some kind of company for this, but honestly, Rupert probably deserves just a bit of time to recombobulate after all of these events. So no, I think I'll go on alone this time.
Very good. So, it's an open question for you, Eddy. But where does this research start? I can point you in several directions if you need me to. But my first question to you is, yes, where does it start? And are you looking into the Penhew Foundation or Edward Gavigan in particular?
I think I'm going to start with Gavigan and work backwards. And I think your first comment is actually good in terms of looking into the Who's Who magazine. Because if he is known and contributed to these events, at least know what the public face of him is, and I can start building out from there.
So you make your way to the library, and certainly in this, the Library of the British Press, there is no lack of Who's Who magazines. Everything is perfectly chronicled, and you don't even have to sign a ticket to pick one up and start reading it. This is essentially a large collection of magazines, periodicals, newspapers, and the like. It's not the best sorted as far as archives go. If you were trying to look for, let's say, something a little more mysterious or hidden, you would be absolutely stuffed in the in the library of the British press. But Who's Who magazines, they're simple enough. You pick up, leaf through, alphabetical. If Gavigan's not in that one, go back a few months, see if he's in that one. And after about 20 minutes of leafing through magazines, there he is. Edward Gavigan. Here's what you know. Edward Gavigan is the director of the Penhew Foundation. He is a respected academic in matters of ancient Egyptian antiquities. He is a member of the English upper class. And wealthy. His estimated wealth, because that's what Who's Who likes to guess at, is approximately £300,000, which may well sound wealthy in 2025 when we're recording. It is considerably more so in 1924. According to Who's Who, his interest in Egyptology led him to the door of Sir Aubrey Penhew, a noted antiquarian, where Gavigan spent many years in his employ and with Penhew as his mentor. Sir Aubrey increasingly divested his responsibilities to Gavigan, and when Sir Aubrey departed with Roger Carlyle, this is in Gavigan's Who's Who entry, what became of Sir Aubrey Penhew, Gavigan was left in his stead as director of the foundation, and remains there to this day. There's a few more bits and pieces, such as family. Gavigan's father died a few years ago, and it was at that point that Gavigan became wealthy. There seems to be an implication there that by all means you can make some kind of psychology or spot hidden or even credit rating roll if you want. Actually, not spot hidden. I would say psychology, library use, or credit rating. You can choose which of those.
I'll try library use. That's definitely my wheelhouse, as it were.
It is a skill for all seasons.
2150, so that's a hard success.
Very, very good. Okay, so the implication on a line such as Gavigan's father's death led to his inheritance and subsequent wealth would imply that he was not wealthy before. Mm-hmm. Which is to say, maybe his father disapproved, maybe his father withheld money from him, maybe his father expected him to gain gainful employment, and subsequently his father died, and now Gavigan is independently wealthy. It goes into some of his personal habits, as these tabloid-like entries tend to do. Gavigan is described as enjoying material life, and he is a frequent customer of Savile Row, where he purchases his tailored suits, elegant jewellery, and is known to have purchased a new and expensive wristwatch. This is remarked upon in Who's Who. Gavigan is a frequent host of events at the Penhew Foundation, and is known as an eager conversationalist on subjects of history, archaeology, antiquarianism. If you happen to be close to Tottenham Court Road and interested in Egyptology, why not see if he's available? It actually closes with that.
Very helpful. Thank you, Who's Who.
It's like the Hitchhiker's Guide to Weirdos, Cultists, and Monsters.
Excellent. That gives me actually a great start. So from this, I now know that Aubrey Penhew might still be alive. And then, of course, there's the Penhew Foundation. And as Madeline suggested, there are events to look at. So I guess my next step is going to be looking into society papers and the like to see if the Penhew Foundation or Gavigan himself are planning to hold any social events in the near future.
Okay then, this is something where a lot of these things tend to be invitation only, therefore they may not be advertised, so here is where I am going to ask you to make a hard library use roll. to look into magazines and history papers and so on, things that might reference the Penhew Foundation setting up a gala in the near future. One of the issues of researching in libraries, museums, and so on is they tend to store things that have long since passed. So discovering something that is shortly upcoming is trickier. Short of going straight up to the Penhew Foundation's door and asking.
Well, I'm going to guess that 95 is not going to help me.
Most certainly not. Would you like to spend 1 luck and reroll? Or would you like to spend sufficient luck to succeed? Or just accept the failure?
For the moment, I'm going to accept the failure because I think I have a plan B, but let me finish this line of thoughts. Because I do have a certain high society woman in America who has some interest in me that might be able to see if she knows something.
You do. Very good. Take 1d6 luck. Utilize those contacts. That's what they are there for.
I'll take the luck, but I will hold off on that for the moment because I still have those other threads to chase down since I'm here in the libraries. I'm going to assume the Who's Who entries for Aubrey Penhew more or less reiterate what was already said in Gavigan's entry, but I will double check.
Aubrey Penhew hasn't had a Who's Who entry since 1920, which is when he was still missing. He disappeared, the expedition left Britain in 1919, and his body was discovered in subsequent years, or remains were discovered in subsequent years.
Oh, I thought he was still alive.
Jackson Elias believes he might be, but he certainly isn't in Britain if he's still around, or if he is, he's under a cloak of a pseudonym. But yes, going further back from 1920, Aubrey Penhew is described, funnily enough, in very similar terms to Edward Gavigan. The main difference is Sir Aubrey Penhew is the Baronet of Pevensey. He is a member of the peerage and has essentially committed his entire life not to the what you might call aristocratic, laissez-faire, let's just have parties all of the time, get drunk, take dope, and put money on the horses. He has put an enormous amount of money behind the study of Egyptology. He funded numerous expeditions to Egypt, and including going on several of them himself, to the point that his Who's Who, while complimentary, as many of these entries tend to be, because quite often it's the people featured in there have paid for their own entry, it's kind of styles him as an obsessive. This is a man who was born 4,000 years too late. He was dedicated to the study of ancient Egypt.
Okay. Now we start to get into the more interesting parts of the research. Given that Penhew was obsessive about Egyptology, given that he has a foundation, I do not think it is a leap of logic worthy of Sherlock Holmes to assume that the Penhew Foundation is itself dedicated to the study of Egyptology.
Not just Egyptology, but it is certainly its centerpiece. You can find that without any roles at all. The Penhew Foundation is a foundation that still sponsors many archaeological expeditions, and is also a house for the recovery of antiques and the import and export of antiques.
So, given my burgeoning interest in the occults and the like, and also the fact that I do know a variety of publishers, both now in America and in Britain, rather than trying to research through the traditional libraries, I'm going to start finding some of the more outre libraries who have specialized texts, as it were, and see if some of the occult publishers have references to the Penhew Foundation, if they have been sponsored by the Penhew Foundation, if the Penhew Foundation asked for certain monographs to be published on their behalf, to see if I can find more information about them to what the occult community is saying about them.
Okay, then. Again, no roll needed. I like this idea. This is going to take you down some of those winding streets. Funnily enough, not that far from the Penhew Foundation, down Shaftesbury Avenue, to where the streets get particularly narrow. All kinds of boutiques and specialist stores can be found. including the kind of places dedicated to research into the occult and mysterious. And it is in a place called the Red Crown, which is styled as a pub and indeed does serve libations, but is more of a bookshop and place where scholars come to discuss these matters, that you poke your head. You've been to the Red Crown once before, and only once. It wasn't that the place was hostile to you, Shelby, but it very much had a feeling of, if you didn't know what you were talking about, you were going to be seen as a bit of an oaf, an interloper. And now that you have a vague idea of what you're looking for, maybe you can use that as a weapon in a place like this. So, this isn't a saloon in a Wild Western game. When you enter through the door, people don't stop what they're doing and stare at you. Quite the opposite. People just don't care that you're here.
Okay. Then I will start to meander my way through the bookshelves, maybe keep half an ear out to see if any conversations filter my way, but more specifically, I'm going to kind of just start to look through to find the right kinds of books, and then, yeah, just kind of get a sense of what the vibe of the place is.
Okay, can I ask you to make a luck roll?
92 over 46, so...
Yep, can't spend luck on a luck roll.
Cannot, no.
In that case, you hear a raised voice that is going to completely blot out any quieter conversations. I'm telling you, I'll be deep, deep down in the cold, cold ground before I call it Istanbul. As far as I'm concerned, it's Constantinople, and that's where I am headed. You're going to get me these books, damn your eyes, or I'm going to take my interests and my shillings elsewhere. Yes, of course, Professor. You should hop to it. You should hop to it, I tell you. How long have I been a patron of your shop? A long time, Professor. A long time. Quite. It was some of my money that led to the foundation of this place. Ah.
I will slowly slide my... I'm still looking at the bookshelves, but slowly slide towards them. See if I can get out of the corner of my eye, I'll look at this quite loud professor.
Yes, you only have to lean a little way before you are peering between the bookshelves that make up the current location of the professor and the poor attendant who is being harangued by him. Matching his volume is his, girth. He's a large man. He is built like he's built like a block. About as wide across as he is tall. He has a firm growth of whiskers on his face, and his hair is a bit of a pompadour, quite frankly. He makes for quite an extravagant sight. He is leaning on a cane, which isn't surprising, given how, top-heavy he is. His legs are considerably narrower than the rest of his body. Where are you with that thing? And then you recognize the voice. You've spoken to this man before.
Oh?
You spoke to him over the phone, in a broken telephone call.
Oh!
This would be Professor Julius Smith, who you spoke to when he was still in New England.
That's interesting.
I don't know, he's muttering and blustering as he's making his way back to the front of the shop. I don't know.
I'll approach him and say, excuse me, I'm sorry, this is going to be a very strange question.
I thrive on strange questions, young man.
Are you Professor Smith?
I have been known by that name. Are you someone, let's think, are you creditor or debtor?
Thankfully, neither. But in fact, we spoke on an extremely bad phone connection a couple of months back. My name is Shelby Shattuck.
Now, the phone connection does not endear you to me. I have had many a wrestling match with a telephone. And with people all around the world, I can tell you those lines are very rarely clear. But I would not forget the name Shelby Shattuck, or as it was to my ear, Shelby But I am confident I can recall you.
It is a surprising pleasure to see you again. I didn't expect to see you in London.
I hope not too much of a surprising pleasure. I would hope that the pleasure comes naturally to you.
Indeed, and in these days I take whatever pleasure I can.
The attendant approaches him with a stack of books. Smith, rather rudely, it must be said, snatches them off of him. All right, you've wasted enough of my time. I'll pay you on the way out. Good God. Good God, Shelby. Do you mind if I call you Shelby?
No, by all means.
Good God, Shelby. The people. That's what I can't stand the most. Give me books and brandy and I'm the happiest man alive. I'm a pig in muck. But when you have to deal with people... it's not that I dislike speaking to other scholars such as yourself, or even curious people who like a thrill, a mystery, a sensation, all of those things wonderful, but it's when you have to deal with the staff. Usually I get my butler, Beddoes, to do it all, but he's off visiting family. So here I am, in the city, picking up my own books.
Well, all I had to say is that those people pay to read my work, and so therefore I appreciate them for the patronage.
Well, in that case, I should be grateful as well. Shall we take a seat? I'm carrying a fair amount of weight. He slaps his stomach. The voyage over to good old Blighty. You know, it's the food on there. I was half the size I was before when I was in New York. When I was in Boston.
I've come over as well, and I certainly found the food to be very tempting.
I fancied taking an airship, but they said I would prevent it from being level in the sky.
I'm sure that wouldn't happen.
No, not really. Could have made the same joke about buoyancy on board a vessel, but he waves it off. Oh, well. He occupies a seat much too small for him. There is a certain humour in that. He's a little like an oversized clown in a circus right now, or an elephant balancing on a footstool. But he gestures for you to sit. Tea and brandy!
Tea would be wonderful, thank you. Now I'll sit across from him. And as I'm sitting down, I'm going to see if I can glance at the spines of the books he's had, if they are the kind of books that print their titles in the spines.
One of them has a title. The others are clearly academic texts that have not been published for universal digestion. It is a book that is simply called Mysteries of Constantinople, which couldn't be more general.
I see you were investigating Constantinople.
Constantinople, that's right. He stubs his finger on the table, frequently enough that it makes it rattle, and the server has to wait before putting the tray of tea and brandy down. He finally holds it steady, allowing it to be placed. I'm planning a trip, you see.
Oh.
Heading out east.
Anything in particular?
He fiddles with his mustache, and then taps his nose. There's an article, an object, a piece of history that I'm very interested in, and a place. So the place, they call it the Shunned Mosque in Constantinople. All kinds of devilish activity there, Shelby, I can tell you, from all the reports I've seen. This artifact, you see, I'm looking for it, but it's in pieces. It's been broken over history, you understand.
Oh, interesting.
And all over the place. I can't hope to assemble it myself. That's not within my capability. But this Shunned Mosque in Constantinople, supposedly there are clues within it that point to the fragments' locations. It could be quite the adventure, an expedition, you might say. Planning on finding a sponsor. Not that I'd lack the money myself, but my estate in Cambridgeshire it's in a state. To be quite blunt, I need to reserve my own money for its rehabilitation. So I was hoping to find some kind of group or patron who might put some money behind my trip.
I sympathize deeply. Capitalism is the enemy of academic research.
Oh, God, you're not one of these bolshies, are you?
Well, no, but still, money is always the limiting factor is what I mean.
Oh, certainly. I mean, isn't it a tragedy that the greatest mysteries of the world are denied to those who are most worldly? It is those who are locked in their porcelain palaces with their ceramics and their diamonds, and he just starts drivelling on about the Tsars and how the Romanovs had it all and lost it all. It isn't a conversation that leads anywhere, or indeed is particularly interesting, but by God, he puts a lot of enthusiasm behind it.
I will go ahead and just nod and participate in the conversation, because despite his prolifications, it's good to have a contact like this. So I'm going to kind of just enjoy the conversation for a while. Maybe, spend 15, 20 minutes enjoying the tea, enjoying the conversation, contributing once in a while when he stops for breath, and then slowly start to steer the conversation towards some questions I might have.
Well, yes, indeed. His talk of potentially seeking out a sponsor may help you out. After all, this is clearly a man well placed in academia, if nothing else. So he finally does stop for breath. And when he talks at length, he goes redder and more purple, and eventually he stops to take a big gulp of brandy. Seeing that you're not feeding yourself brandy, he doesn't feel inhibited. Rather, he just thinks, well, more for me. And indeed, he doesn't touch the tea in favour of the brown nectar.
So if you are looking for patronage, I myself have been debating idly, nothing formal here. I'm still kind of putting pieces together in my mind.
It's best to be idle when debating.
Right, exactly. I have been hearing that there's a foundation of antiquarians and Egyptologists, the Penhew Foundation. Maybe they would be interested in something like this.
Well, I considered Penhew. I haven't got on with his successor, you understand. I thought Aubrey Penhew, Sir Orbs, was a decent enough fellow. Well, very much committed to his bit, you could say.
Sure.
But Gavigan, can't say I like the cut of him. Nevertheless, money's money. So I've been weighing it up, whether I go to a university or whether I go to Penhew or one of the other foundations. I understand Howard Carter's started sponsoring some trips, but at least ever since Aubrey's demise, God rest his soul, the Penhew Foundation has expanded its net somewhat. It isn't quite so committed to Egypt, so I might have some hope there. Good idea, Shelby.
Yeah, I'm curious though. You mentioned Gavigan rubbing it the wrong way. Is it just he's not on, or is it like something I should be concerned about?
He wrinkles his face as if trying to pinpoint exactly what the problem is, and swills the brandy around a little in thought. What I could really do with right now is my pipe. I only left it back home, and I need bellows for these kinds of things.
I understand.
The problem with Gavigan, in my view, and don't take this as gospel, Shelby. I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of people out there that like Edward Gavigan.
Of course.
Is he has an unctuous quality to him. Like, I'm not sure how to describe it, but as if anything you introduce him to, he contaminates. Oh, gosh, that sounds vile, doesn't it? Maybe I should put it in a more diplomatic way. If I were to share information with him on a fact-finding operation, you should... Like I were to go up to him and say, I want to go to Constantinople to visit this place and find out about this thing. I feel he would say, oh, yes, we'll get back to you in a month with the financing. Meanwhile, he's sponsoring his own expedition at half the price because he's already fouled it with his ooze. And I've heard rumours like that, and frankly, his personality makes me feel like that's exactly what he's doing. And you must have heard the rumours. There's been something like 20 expeditions that have taken place under the Penhew Foundation, since Sir Aubrey's sad ending, how many of them have come to tragic ends? A lot, Shelby. A lot. It doesn't seem to matter where they go in the world. I understand one of them headed out to China, never returned. One ventured out to South America, completely broke up. They were doing something in Peru. There was... he's had, of course, more out to Egypt, Kenya, all kinds of places. And many of them, if they don't come back in tatters, they don't come back at all. Now, that's not to say they have a zero track record. They stay in business, but it's not exactly a fantastic mark. I imagine they are failing to hire the right locals. That's the trick with these things. You always need to get local help. If you bluster in like some overweight professor who's all jingo, John Bull, you're going to get taken for a fool and left in a ditch somewhere.
I can understand that. In fact, I had heard rumors of the Larkin expedition.
That's the one. The Penhew Foundation was sponsoring it, I believe. No one ever said what became of that, so we can chalk it up as another failure.
Definitely. I mean, if the expedition returns no information, what's the point?
Well, you ask me, it either means the team got lucky enough that they scored big on their haul and decided to sell it off elsewhere. And believe me, that sometimes happens. Sometimes you'll get archaeologists, they call themselves archaeologists, they'll dig something up, and then instead of coming back home to London and putting their findings in the British Museum where they belong, they head to Hong Kong, or they go to, well, who knows where, and sell these things on the black market. Live on the riches.
As disreputable as it is, that seems like the best case scenario. I mean, it sounds like many of these expeditions are much more tragic.
Oh, yeah, very, very. But I suppose we can't hold it all at Gavigan's feet. He's not going on these expeditions himself.
No, but it sounds, what you mentioned is the rumors are he may be trying to get these together so quickly to try to undercut good, hardworking academics like yourself. Those cut corners cost lives. And
quite well put. You should really write a novel.
I have been thinking about that. I may do that someday.
You know, for the life of me, we've been having this conversation. He checks his pocket watch. Gosh, 2 hours. I used to track time with how much brandy I drank, but because I used to be down to 1 glass every 20 minutes, but I've picked up a little acceleration in the last few years. So, I was going to say, what brings you to London? I would say small world, but we're clearly in the same circles.
Well, I mean, we are in London. If we are going to meet somewhere in the world, meeting the center of the British Empire is hardly the least likely.
Oh, true. But the Red Crown in London at this time.
Well, it's I've decided that I'm going to head back to my alma mater in Oxford and check on a few people there. And so I thought on my way there that I would make the rounds around London. I'd heard about this place as being quite a good bookshop for our kind of collective niche. And so I started browsing the bookshelves when I heard your voice, and I just remembered that distinctive laugh. And I recalled that it was such a pleasurable conversation, what little of it I heard.
Well, I hope I didn't upset you too much with my treatment of the attendant in this place. You see, he's dreadfully old and very, very tiresome. But if you're interested in going to the Penhew Foundation, because you asked me, after all, I wouldn't object to the company.
That can't hurt. Yeah. Again, I'm still figuring out the expedition, but I mean, it can't hurt to make the meet, and so that way, once I have something that's more comprehensive, and to be fair, given what you told me of this Gavigan, it might be worth meeting him and making my own judgments before I commit any money to the cause, as it were.
Good thinking. What I'll do, I'll get Beddoes to place a call to the Foundation to arrange a meeting, I'll say, with Professor Julia Smith and interested parties. And if you want to come along, I imagine that'll be tomorrow. I'll try and I'll aim for tomorrow.
Yes, I have a couple of research assistants that I may bring along if that's all right.
Oh, well, more the merrier. Let's drain Gavigan's cocktail cabinet.
That sounds like a wonderful plan.
Well, I must be off. If I stay sat for too long, the gout flares up.
I understand. I'm still figuring out my living accommodations, so if you could have your man contact me at the Waterloo post office, and I'll just pick it up tomorrow.
Oh, yes. I'm at the University of London. I've got accommodation there.
Okay.
Oxford, you say, he says, with a bit of a frown. I am more of a Cambridge boy myself, but I won't hold it against you.
Until, of course, the next polo game comes around.
Oh, there'll be no point holding it against you then if I'll just pity you or pat you on the head.
We'll see how it goes this year.
He gives you a surprisingly firm handshake and totters off. If he is incredibly intoxicated from drinking an entire bottle of brandy, he doesn't show it. He may well be pickled. He could have arrived here in that state. It's very difficult to tell when Julius Smith is sober or drunk.
And I will just reflect on the sheer coincidence, and given how my life has been recently, how often that kind of coincidence usually leads to more nefarious undercurrents. And I will mull over how Professor Smith maybe fits into all of this as I make my way back to the hotel.
Felix and Madeline, you've got these articles, and your confusion, which I can sense, is valid. How are they connected? Do they have any link to what it is you are looking into? They certainly seem like, well, monstrous and mysterious affairs. But there's no mention of Gavigan, there's no mention of Penhew, there's no mention of Carlisle. You could reach out to Jackson Elias if you want, though he's not going to be able to get in touch with you immediately. Or you can start tracking these stories down on your own. The day is still reasonably young. It's only the early afternoon, which just goes to show it's never too late to start downing bottles of brandy. So, Madeline and Felix, what's the plan?
That is a good question. So, Madeline, what do you think about these articles? I mean, there's a reason why they are the ones that have been picked up, and perhaps by investigating what is behind them and trying to meet some of the people mentioned, perhaps that may lead us to some clues that will take us further in our investigations.
I agree. No, I completely agree. I'm not seeing any immediate connective tissue between what we have in front of us and what we know. But I think you're absolutely right. If we start interviewing these circumstances, these people, something may populate. So this one, and I'm going to hand over the Police Baffled by Monstrous Murders. This is a year old. However, these two, and I'll hand Felix the other two, The Slaughter Continues and The Shocking Canvases Craze, are fairly recent. And I'm going to tap twice on the canvas one. This could be us, Felix. This could be Shelby in his writing one day. The things that we've seen, the things that we've experienced. This artist obviously has a connection or an influence or a peripheral something to the things that we're looking into.
I was about to suggest the same, having looked at the articles. Yes, this Mr. Shipley, he has certainly seen things that are not supposed to be possible. And we know that such things are, in fact, possible, which means that he might have seen the truth. And if so, he might have information for us. So yes, perhaps we can locate him and pose as potential buyers, or even approach him with the truth. On some level, someone who has seen what he has seen might be tired of always being treated as though what you are drawing or talking about, that is something that's completely surrealist and impossible, right? Actually having someone validate it as real, that might actually be something that he would appreciate.
I smile and I nudge you with my elbows like, you're getting good at this. You're right. If this is someone that's used to being unseen, us coming with an open mind or even some recognition may help him feel seen, which may help him open up. Alternatively, if he is occultist or affiliated with these cults, it also could tip our hat, but we won't know until we see him. We won't know until we meet him.
That's right. So, let us see if we can track him down. And I don't know, what do you think? Should we perhaps send a message to Jackson as well, keeping him up to date with what we're doing, and check in with Shelby as well?
I think so. I think if we have information spread out on multiple places, that insulates us, or at least if something happens, someone else can pick up the ball. I'm going to slip my arm around his and throw my head onto his shoulder, overly comfortable, like she always is. And I think we should lead in with this Mr. Shipley with the question, where do you gain your inspiration? Then see what happens from there.
Indeed, I say, smiling back. Well, shall we?
Yes, let's see if I can not get shot this time, just as a request to put on the forward face of this particular investigation.
Yes, let's try and avoid that.
And so our two investigators pursue the tale, not the trail, of the Chelsea Serpent, which we will pick up again in our next session.
You have listened to an episode of Red Moon Roleplaying, where we play Masks of Nyarlathotep for Chaosium's Call of Cthulhu 7th edition. Joining us as our keeper is none other than our dear friend Maciej Dawkins, and we were also joined by Bridgett, Jeffries, and Eddy Webb. The music was made by Aegersonus and Halgrath, and we've also used Cryochamber's Lovecraftian compilation albums. All of this with the permission of Cryochamber. Check out their website at cryochamber.bandcamp.com or their YouTube channel for some moody dark ambient for your gaming table. We would like to give massive thanks to our champions of the Red Moon: Martin Heuschober, Simon Cooper, Julia, Camilla, Bob Lange, Cameron, Graham Barey, Doug Thomson, Lily, Maciej, Black Templar, Dennis Sadecki, and Leonhardt for their generous support. And we would of course also like to thank all of our other patrons. Without your support, this show would not be possible. If you want to support our work, please check us out on Patreon. You can get access to bonus campaigns for Cult of the Lost, Call of Cthulhu, Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, and Warhammer 40k Imperium Maledictum there. And you can also get early and raw access to all of our recordings, and hear your name read on the show as a champion of the Red Moon, as well as even play some Cult with us. Most importantly, that support is what keeps the show going, so do check us out there. Thank you again for listening, and remember, I am the last. I will tell the audient void.